Yes, we're ready.
Good evening, and welcome to this special meeting of the Boston School Committee. I'm Chairperson Jerry Robinson. We'll begin with the Pledge of Allegiance. Pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Because this is a remote meeting, I will ask Ms. Parvix to please call the roll.
Thank you, Chair. Dr. Alkins,
Present.
Mr. Cadet Hernandez,
Present.
Ms. Lima Barbosa,
Present.
Ms. Polanco Garcia,
Present.
Mr. Tran, Mr. O'Neill,
Present.
Ms. Robinson.
Present.
We have a quorum.
Thank you. Thank you. Tonight's session is being shared live on Zoom. It will be posted on the school committee's webpage and on YouTube. Tonight's meeting documents are posted on the committee's webpage, bostonpublicschools.org/school-committee, under the July 9th meeting link. The meeting documents have been translated into all of the major BPS languages. Any translations that are not ready prior to the start of the meeting will be posted as soon as they are finalized. The committee is pleased to offer live simultaneous interpretation virtually in Spanish, Haitian Creole, Cape Verdean, Cantonese, Mandarin, Vietnamese, and American Sign Language. The Zoom interpretation feature has been activated. Zoom participants should click the globe icon at the bottom of your screen to select your language preference. I'd like to remind everyone to speak at a slower pace to assist our interpreters. Before we begin, I want to note that this is a special meeting called specifically to vote on the superintendent's 2024-2025 summative evaluation. However, a few time-sensitive items have come up that we needed to add to the agenda. Before we move into these items, I want to pause and remind everyone that as Ms. Lima Barbosa shared at our last meeting, today is her last day with us. Thank you, Ms. Lima Barbosa, for your commitment, your thoughtful leadership, and always uplifting student voices. This work is not easy, and your presence and voice will be missed, and we wish you all the best. For those who weren't with us last time, I want to make sure you also have the opportunity to join us in recognizing Ms. Lima Barbosa. I'll open it up for members to share their thoughts. Mr. Cadet Hernandez.
Just want to say thank you for your service and your commitment, and it's been a pleasure, obviously, to work together, and good luck on this next chapter.
Right, thank you. Dr. Alkins?
Yes, just echoing the sentiments of my fellow school committee member. You know, Ms. Lima Barbosa, a brief time, but still impactful. And I know that the spirit that you have around making sure that communities are properly engaged and are included in all aspects of the decision making is something that we shall remember you for and take forward. And you know, we will do you proud. Thank you.
Thank you. Mr. Tran?
I'm also echoing other members who have spoken. Thank you for your valuable contribution, even though it was a short time that I know you, but I do really enjoy having you as a member, as a friend, and good luck in your new endeavor.
Thank you. Superintendent?
Yeah, I just too wanted to say, you know, thank you, first of all, for coming back, right, and serving in BPS. Having been a student, you know, I think it just, you know, your passion, your talent, you could do so many other things, and you chose to do school committee, and that really says a lot. You also were just so good at always keeping student voice at the center of whatever we talked about. And we'll just always appreciate the schools that we visited, your input on the Welcome Center and how we could make it a better and more special place for our families. Just thank you and just wish you the best of luck. And again, hope this is not goodbye, but just see you at a different time.
Oops. I'm doing school committee. I'll call you later. Sorry about that. Superintendent. Oh, sorry. Ms. Polanco Garcia.
Thank you, Madam Chair. I want to say, Chantal, thank you for your involved. Thank you for your passion. Thank you for everything. Your voice is very, very, very important in the committee. Good luck in your work. Thank you.
Thank you. And Mr. O'Neill.
Thank you, Ms. Lima Barbosa. I said a lot last time, so I will strictly say good luck. We're going to miss you. And thank you for, as the superintendent said, how you always kept student voice centered and bringing the perspective of a more recent graduate than the chair and myself. And particularly our conversations around your alma mater, the Jeremiah E. Burke, now the Albert Holland School of Technology, and making sure the district continues to live up to the second part of that name, School of Technology, and how you raise that issue for all of us. But good luck in your next step. We're going to miss working with you.
And as I've said to you many times, thank you so much and look forward to hearing what comes next for you. Take care. Thank you. Okay. We'll now begin with we will start with report, which will be presented now and brought forward for a vote later during the action item portion of the meeting. This report pertains to the land deregistration. First, I want to invite the superintendent to give introductory remarks.
Certainly, Chair. And Chair, I did have a few things I just wanted to kind of quickly update on. And so
Okay.
I didn't know if you wanted me to do that now.
Yes, yes,
Okay.
you can. Thank you.
Great. Okay, great. So first of all, you know, this is the end of the school year and the summer. It's the usual time for us to see some transitions in district staff. Fortunately, we have an incredibly stable principal core and central core, but there are a few key staff who are going to be transitioning, and I just thought it would be good to update you tonight on those staff members. As you know, Rochelle Woso, who was our chief of staff for the last several years, she's leaving BPS, or has actually left at this point, in order to relocate out of state with her family. This is a key position in our organization, and I'm excited to introduce Yusuf Vali, who is on the school committee call tonight, as our new chief of staff to help ensure that all the critical work day to day happens and happens successfully. Yusufi joined BPS back in December when he came in as our deputy chief of staff. And most recently, he served also as Mayor Wu's deputy chief of staff. And before that, as the director of the Mayor's Office of Immigrant Advancement. So welcoming to Yusufi in this new role and every confidence that he's going to be very successful for us as an organization. I also recently announced that Dr. Linda Chen has made the difficult decision to leave her current role as the Senior Deputy Superintendent of Academics in mid-August to be able to relocate and better support her family on the West Coast. Linda's a brilliant colleague and more importantly, a dear friend. She's worked in urban ed for over 30 years. And she really believes firmly in everything she does, the power of education to change a child's life. She has an unwavering commitment to improving the lives of our students, one that I've seen very rarely among colleagues. Linda and I are currently working on a transition plan. We have the position posted. It's definitely getting a lot of attention, as you would imagine it would, both locally and nationally. I will certainly keep our committee posted on this. We hope to have someone in place for the start of the school year, but most importantly, we want to have the right person in place. And then I'd also like to mention that after 3 years of service in her current role, and 23 years in total in BPS, Leslie Ryan Miller will step down from her position as Chief of Teaching and Learning and move to a new role as the Chief of Staff for the Girl Scouts of America Eastern Region. Leslie's led such important work on the teaching and learning team, really ensuring that we have nearly 100% of schools using high quality instructional materials and a deep focus on equitable literacy and numeracy, and that it's happening in every school and every classroom across BPS. In consultation with Leslie, Dr. Angela Headley Mitchell, who has been in the district for many, many years, she'll assume the role of interim chief, serving as our executive director of humanities, or she has served as the executive director of humanities for the past 3 years. Dr. Headley Mitchell is deeply familiar with the work that is happening across teaching and learning. And I know, and Leslie knows, that she will ensure all of our work in curriculum and instruction carries forward seamlessly. We also kicked off our summer programming earlier this week. Always one of my favorite times of year. Just want to briefly mention a couple things. Our 2025 summer programming includes our 5th quarter programming, our extended school year, what we call ESY, our student support programming, our 21st century summer learning programs, and our exam school initiative, just for a few examples. Our extended school year began on Monday, July 7th, and our 5th quarter began yesterday, which was July 8th, a day later than we normally do. And this was very deliberate so that we could have Monday to be able to have our staff in, provide some critical PD and information to all sites before students arrived on Tuesday. To date, we have 2,913 students who are confirmed to attend the ESY, and 6,783 students have accepted a seat in our 5th quarter program. In total, BPS's summer programming portfolio has the capacity to serve nearly 12,500 students, and this will happen across 81 of our school buildings this summer. As of right now, the high school credit recovery and the middle school course recovery programs have a combined enrollment of almost 3,500 students. There's a big push for us this year with our high school students, as has been the case, to make credit up, to make sure that they can, graduate on time, and especially those juniors and seniors who are just a few credits away from graduating, so that we can have one of the most robust summer graduations, which will happen in August. We're also excited to offer free summer meals, breakfast and lunch, to all children and teens under 18 at more than 100 locations across our neighborhoods. There's no identification or pre-registration required. This is really in an effort to care for our whole community. I'm also happy to report that from a transportation lens, we achieved 76% morning bus on-time performance on the first day of ESY, and that was 27 percentage points higher than last year and 18 percentage points higher than 2 years ago. These again continue to be important milestones as our transportation system gets stronger and stronger for that on-time performance. Again, on day 2, which was the start of our full 5th quarter, we had 84% of the morning buses arriving on time, and this was 20 percentage points higher than last year and 15 percentage points higher than 2 years ago. And we'll keep making that until we get higher and higher to 100%. For any more information for the public about our summer programming, they can go to bostonpublicsschools.org/all lowercase summer resources. Chair, as you mentioned tonight, we're asking the school committee to approve the deregistration of land that's located at 315 Mount Vernon Street in Dorchester. This is the site of the planned Boys and Girls Martin Richard Foundation Fieldhouse project. We're asking the committee to take this vote later in this meeting. School committee members are in receipt of a memo regarding this request, which is publicly available along with tonight's meeting materials at bostonpublicschools.org/lowercase school committee. The 75,000 square foot field house will include indoor athletic fields and courts, a walking track, fitness and training rooms, classrooms, and other amenities in the community. In 2020, this body voted to sublease the BPS owned land, and the district entered into a 30-year lease agreement with the Boys and Girls Club that started in March of 2021, just as a reminder. The Boys and Girls Club needs permits to continue the construction, and the land needs to be subdivided for them to receive the permits. In order to subdivide the land, the Massachusetts Land Court requires a certificate of authority to deregister the land. And this is an administrative act that will allow the construction to continue. And Chair, at this time, I have some other mentions around grants, but I think at this time, we have with us Lorenzo DeSilvio, who's our legal advisor, and he'll be here to answer any questions when we get to the report. Just finally, relative to the grants, there's 4 grants for your consideration tonight, and they're totaling more than $934,000. The largest is a $375,000 comprehensive school health services grant, and this will serve more than 46,000 students district-wide. The grant will be used to reduce chronic absenteeism for students affected by chronic diseases by supporting nurse case management. There's also a $360,000 comprehensive behavioral health model research and data grant that will serve 45,000 students across 121 schools. The grant provides a continuum of prevention and promotion, at-risk services, and intensive services to meet the behavioral needs of our students. More than 800 students district-wide will have access to comprehensive eye exams through a $195,230 FY26 pilot BPS vision program grant. And finally, there's a $4,000 21st Century Community Learning Center grant, which will increase access to high-quality, academically enriching summer program for students on IEPs at the Umana Academy. We have with us Marcela Makea, who is our Director of Federal and State Grants, Programs, and Compliance. And when we get to the grant side, were there to be any questions, we would be able to take that up then. Finally, just on grants, I know that there's been a lot in the press, in the media around this. We will be providing a memo for school committee to just be able to further delineate and explain, what the potential impact is for us. Right now, the funding is indicating from the federal government a delay. I want to emphasize a couple things. One is that we do not believe that there'll be an impact to any BPS employees for the coming school year, 25-26, or for any of the current BPS summer programming. In terms of the types of funding, it is our title dollars, particularly our Title II-A. This is a supporting effective instruction side of the house. And this is what we use around student achievement, principal development, things like that. Title III, which directly impacts our language instruction for our English learners and immigrant students. Title IV-A, which is a title grant that does student support and academic enrichment. And Title IV-B, which is our 21st Century Learning Centers grant. Again, we are actively looking within our own budget for temporary funding to be able to offset. We do not right now foresee any impact to staffing who are on these grants for the 25-26 school year. And again, this will not impact our summer. But this is certainly something that we need to keep you informed about. We need to keep our community informed about. And we're going to be doing a lot of deep planning, as we've already begun, for how we might be able to support and offset some of these critical needs services. I think that's it, Chair, for right now.
Okay. We can do one quick round of questions and then we need to go back to the land deregulation report. Does anybody have any questions at this point? Mr. Cardet Hernandez.
Yeah, I have a few questions just because it's our final meeting. I can ask them all at once if that's easier, or I can break them down. What would you prefer, Superintendent?
I'm fine if you want to just ask.
Okay, great. So first one, I'm just wondering if you have an update for us on the White Stadium cost, just because there's been a lot of news about it exceeding the figure due to rising material costs. So is there an update on the anticipated cost as well as the impact on the budget, particularly given some of the other issues? The first
Yeah,
one.
I think it's something that the city is monitoring. I think it's a bit of a moving target, as a lot of construction projects are. I can give you that in writing once we can conference with the city and sort of see what the latest figures are.
Awesome. It's like what I have just as we're ending the school year is the work that we're doing to develop a system-wide AI policy. Is there any further progress in this, and what can we anticipate?
Yeah,
When
so-
can we anticipate that we'll have something to review as a committee?
Yeah, so there's an actual work group that's working out of teaching and learning. Dr. Chen and several of the staff have been involved in that. Once again, we can update and we'll provide something as we get closer to school, but we see AI as something that we want to be able to embrace and figure out how it can help us, particularly on the teaching and learning side. So our staff has been actively involved in several conferences. Happy again at the start of school to give some update.
Great. And are we anticipating that there'll be a policy for the fall or something later?
I think that this is something that we will, the first piece is to update how we're thinking about using it. Part of that branch would be policy, but the other is going to be the practice. So we'll give some update in the September meetings about next steps there. And if there is policy implication, when we might bring forward language.
Okay. And then just for further clarity on the federal funding conversation, is it fair, as we're thinking about the sort of thesis here, no major impacts for the summer or the fall, possibly some delayed impact based on the way that we're budgeting if the money doesn't come in? Or is there a chance that there is an impact to the fall and the student experience in the fall? And then the sort of second part of that question is, when can we anticipate the memo that will help us understand that?
So the memo will be imminent relative to what the impacts could be. In terms of the offsets, that's something that we're actively looking for, that temporary funding. Again, right now, all we know is this is delay. So we'll be doing some planning, but at the same time, we hope not to have to actually use that planning. And we hope that this is money that gets released because I can't underscore enough, this is $8 million for us. And it funds some really critical needs areas of the organization. So,
Absolutely.
yeah. So, but
Okay.
the memo will be forthcoming in the next day.
Okay, thank you. Absolutely.
Welcome.
And then two more questions. Do we have an enrollment update for the fall since this is our last meeting, as well as a graduation rate update based on the recent graduation?
So the enrollment will be we're calculating round 3 now, so that would not be ready yet, but we will give a memo to that. What we do know is we are seeing impact to our multilingual learners. I think that's something I've updated committee on. And so we do anticipate some impact there at each of the grade levels. I think the other thing is last year's high school data also included several closures of charters. So we actually saw like an artificial inflation that happened because we took students in. And so it'll remain to see if we see that kind of go back to normal level or whether that stays increased. But again, once we finish the calculations with round 3 and the analysis, that's something we'll be happy to share for the start of school. Your other question was?
On graduation rate. So we've wrapped up the chunk of graduation season, obviously knowing that there's summer graduates, but do we have an update on our current graduation?
Yeah, so we don't calculate the graduation rate off cycle like that. We wait until we do the summer graduations because it's actually pretty extensive. In fact, we're hoping, and I would hope that school committee will attend the district graduation. We'll get you the invites for that. But we're hoping that this is one of our largest because we had many students who are close but because of pandemic loss, they were dragging credit here or there. We're merely making an effort, literally going door to door, to make sure that students know what they can take advantage of in order to cross that graduation threshold. So once again, we'll let the summer graduation happen, and then we can get some updated figures.
Great. It would be helpful when we get the figure too, just for our own understanding, the students who finish on track cycle and then students who are off track and the relationship between the final number.
Okay, yeah, I mean, I can have further conversation with you. Off track is slightly hard to define because is a multilingual learner that takes extra time to complete their coursework off track? Or is that a multilingual learner that just needs extra time because they're learning English in the process and need that additional year to be able to get graduation rate? But happy to have that conversation.
Yeah, no, I think like a traditional 4-year number and then a 5-year and a 6-year number. I think that sort of trends naturally and how I understand the reporting structure, but I agree with you. Obviously every student is different, every student's complex. I don't think it's a negative or a positive, but it's interesting for us to understand who is finishing in the typical 4-year time cycle versus who is taking the summer programs that we offer, the credit recovery that we are able to fund and then create. Like, then what does that actually turnkey in terms of the whole number?
Okay, yeah, we will get you, as I said, after the August graduation, where we're hoping as many students as possible are able to get across that graduation line and on to the next level. We'll give you updated figure.
Thanks.
You're welcome.
Are there any other questions before we move on to the report? No. We can move on to the land deed registration.
So I think if there's any questions, Councilor DeSilvio can answer them specifically, but
Yeah.
I think, Chair, the comments that I made are what are pertinent for this vote. And we would just encourage a positive vote so that construction can move forward.
Okay, thank you.
You're welcome.
We will now then move on to general public comment. Ms. Parvex?
Thank you, Chair. The public comment period is an opportunity for individuals to address the school committee on school-related issues. Questions on specific school matters are referred to the superintendent. Questions on policy matter will be discussed by the committee later. We have 10 speakers this evening. Each person will have 3 minutes to speak, and I will remind you when you have 30 seconds remaining. Please feel free to email your comments for distribution to the committee. Speakers may not reassign their time to others. The time that an interpreter uses for English interpretation will not be deducted from the speaker's allotted time. Please direct your comments to the chair and refrain from addressing individual school committee members or district staff. Please note the comments of any public speaker do not represent the Boston Public Schools or the Boston School Committee. Please state your name, affiliation, and where you live before you begin. Please sign in using the name you registered with for public comment and be ready to unmute and turn on your camera when it's your turn to speak. Please raise your virtual hand when I call your name. To support interpretation, please speak slowly and clearly. We will start with our first group. It's Vernie Wilkinson, John Mudd, Cheryl Buckman, and Mike Heischman. Please raise your hands. You can, thank you.
Okay.
You can start.
Good evening. Thank you to the committee. My name is Brene Wilkinson and I'm with SchoolFacts Boston. In the, I believe, most recent school committee meeting, updates were shared about possible changes in the exam school policy. And as it relates to previous work, have members of the exam school policy committee that approved the most recent iteration of the work, have they been updated and informed? It would be important to ensure that they are looped in for any possible lessons learned and to avoid any redundancy of efforts. As it relates to community input, which is our foremost concern at this time, in the last school committee meeting, it was shared that there will be upcoming community engagement on this topic. When and where will those meetings be? It will be important for there to be robust community engagement this summer and into the fall to ensure that potential impacted communities and families will be heard from in a thoughtful way. And as it relates to data, we are looking for transparency in data. We agree with the superintendent that the issue of there being less access potentially for Black students, around a number of 7%, that will need to be drilled in to more deeply. So we're looking for the data as the district does indeed drill into this issue more deeply. Data needs to be shared so that the community can give thoughtful and relevant feedback as it might relate to any possible changes. So data will need to be presented at school committee as well as shared out widely with the community. So in closing, transparency and thoughtful community engagement will be essential in moving forward in this work, especially with this kind of summer timeline. We really want to advocate for this conversation not to get lost in the season, and that will ideally be able to work towards an equitable outcome that won't have to be returned to year after year. So that this topic won't continue to pull time and
30
attention
seconds.
away from other school and district matters that need urgent attention. Thank you for your time.
Thank you. Our next speaker is John Mudd.
My name is John Mudd. I'm a resident of Cambridge and a longtime education advocate in Boston and grandfather of a student at the John F. Kennedy Elementary School. With the 3 school committee and BPS staff working groups over the summer, and with the resignation of key BPS staff leaders, as the superintendent noted, and a new state commissioner of education, there's an important opportunity to rethink BPS approaches to the education of multilingual learners and multilingual learners with disabilities, as well as the equitable literacy strategy. Please take advantage of this opportunity. The committee and BPS say that they are data-driven and student outcome focused. The data is clear that English immersion through SEI and inclusive education is failing to prepare more than 90% of multilingual learner students to meet state MCAS standards. The data also shows that equitable literacy is not accelerating improvement of ELA reading scores in the early grades or reducing achievement gaps. Something needs to change in adult behavior if we are to expect student outcomes to improve significantly, as we all hope they will. For multilingual learners, the research evidence is clear that building on the foundation of home language is a better way to learn academic English and lay the groundwork for dual language inherited language learning for those who want it. There are many ways that BPS could promote the value of home language. For example, by encouraging parents to speak and read to their children in their home language, by providing professional development to monolingual English-speaking teachers on how to support home language with their home MEL students, by expanding bilingual education programs, and by stopping the implementation of inclusive education for multilingual students. Think through these alternatives this summer, and then come up with recommendations for changes from the working groups, and then let's have a serious, open, give and take discussion with experts and stakeholders on new ways forward in the fall. As I've said earlier, I think you're missing an opportunity to invoke outside voices of the working groups. Without this, maybe you could brainstorm on how to have a fuller discussion of these issues with open hearings or town halls in this coming fall and winter. Thank you for hearing me.
Thank you, Mr. Mudd. Our next speaker is Cheryl Buckman.
Good evening. My name is Cheryl Buckman. I'm a Deborah alumni, parent, and lead spokesperson. I live in South Boston, and I'm here to speak about the legacy of the Paul A. Deborah School. Since 1958, the Deborah has been more than a school. It's been a home, a place where students begin their journey, where educators find purpose, and where families build community. Even during tough times, like the 2013 receivership, and frequent leadership changes, the heart of the Deborah never faltered. Parents, students, and teachers stood united, holding on to the school's core values, family and community. In 2020, the Deborah turned a corner. New leadership brought growth, inclusion, and celebration of the 14 languages spoken within its walls. The school became a model of what's possible when equity and diversity are truly embraced. Then this January, the Deborah was placed on a closure list. At that moment, decades of progress and care were threatened. But the community rose up through rallies, meetings, and the Deborah Strong movement. We spoke loudly and clearly, and while the final decision to close has been made, I want to be clear, you can close a school building, but you cannot close its legacy. The Paul A. Deborah School leaves behind something very powerful, and we will carry it forward, always Deborah strong. And I want to give a deep thank you to the capital planning team for their dedication to the Deborah community. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Our next speaker is Mike Heichman.
Mike Heichman, Dorchester. Assessment evaluation is an essential part of any learning organization. The purpose of my brief evaluation this evening is to assess the leadership team, Mayor Wu, the superintendent, and the appointed board. There has never been enough resources to provide a quality education for all of our children. This tradition, unfortunately, has continued. Family and community engagement. If you believed in this, you would have actively encouraged the community to participate in this annual evaluation process. Boss Wu refuses to allow the creation of elected school committee, despite the will of the people expressed in an election and a vote by the city council. Instead, we have an appointed board selected and accountable to the mayor. Many members of the multilingual task force publicly resigned because the system embraced poor policies. Mayor Wu and Ms. Skipper would not have violated the system's own process and instead bushwhacked the O'Brien School in their attempt to move this exam school from the heart of the Black community to White West Roxbury. The failure to come up with another plan smells of political retribution. The system would have developed a comprehensive facilities plan. Instead, plans are made in secret, including school closings, and publicly announced before school communities are consulted. Shock and awe. Too often, the system practiced community manipulation and disengagement. The system continues to act in ways that increase inequities and racism. Schools are always closed where low-income Black and brown children are the overwhelming majority. Under the previous leadership of Dr. Casilius and her chief assistant, Dr. Charles Cranston, equity had been a major priority. The racial equity tool was created and used. Community equity roundtable discussions were held on a regular basis. more Black and brown children were admitted to our exam schools. Under the misleadership of Superintendent Skipper, this progress has been erased and the system is energetically marched in the opposite direction. Immediately after Ms. Skipper had been hired, Black and brown central office leaders
30
were
seconds.
Dr. Branson and many other Black and brown school leaders were fired. Despite significant programs that diversify the staff, more Black and brown teachers have left the system than have been recruited. The racial equity tool became invisible. Community equity roundtable discussions died. Inequities have increased and racism has grown stronger. Thank you.
Thank you. Our next group of speakers is Haval Abdulrahman, Sadi Jasmine, Deidre Manning, and Courtney Feely Karp. Please raise your hand. Haval Abdulrahman.
Please, can you hear me?
Yes, we can hear you. You can start.
Yeah, thank you very much. Dear members of BPS committee, my name is Haval Abdulrahman. I'm a proud parent of 2 students at Dever Elementary School in 5th grade and 3rd grade. I am also a longtime resident of Harbor Point in Dorchester for 21 years and a vice president of a Harbor Point Community Task Force committee. Today, I stand before you to discuss what is the next step after closing Dever School. Since January to the end of March of this year, Dever community, including parents, teachers, students, and educator staff, fought and defended to reject the BPS proposal for the school closure. But unfortunately and sadly, BPS decided to vote for the school closure. BPS tried to help and improve Dever School many years ago, including frequently changing the leadership. Therefore, even if I don't agree with BPS decision, but at the end of the day, I am respecting BPS decision because I'm assuming that BPS is working towards the best future to our community. Dear BPS committee, after closing the school, I hope BPS consider the following demands, please. I hope BPS commit that they don't give the Dever building to any private developer or to a charter school. I hope capital planning team do their best to find a fund to renovate or modify the building structure to meet BPS criteria. I hope the building remains in the community and look at an option to make a community-run school or a model that fits the building. My last message and statement to you all, with my respectful to you all, you may close our school, but you will not close the Dever School spirit. Thank you for your time and consideration. I sincerely hope that you will listen to the concerns of our families and work towards the best future to our community. Thank you very much.
Thank you. Our next speaker is Sadie Jasmine. Please unmute and start the video. Miss Jasmine. Okay, so I'm not sure if there's an issue going on with Sadie Jasmine. So I will go to Deidre Manning. And then we will come back to Sadie Jasmine. Deidre Manning. Deidre Manning, accept the prompt. Okay. We will continue. Courtney Feely Karp. You can start.
Hello, can everyone see me and hear me?
Yes, we can hear you.
Hi, thank you. I come before the committee and the superintendent tonight as a general concern about, yet again, how the district continues to lack transparent, clear, concrete policies for communication with families, particularly families with children with IEPs. I use my own recent example of my child as sort of a case study in point. We had our IEP meeting on June 9th. At that IEP meeting, the team made the decision that it would be in the best interest of our child to have a different school location for her upcoming grade. We were told by our co's that we needed to go to the Welcome Center for that. I repeatedly pointed to the appropriate sections of the state regulations, 603 CMR 28.06, that says it is the decision of the team to determine which location services are to be provided. And that is up to the team to figure out the specific classroom or school to implement the placement decision. BPS's own website notes that a transfer request policy does not apply to students who need a different school or program as determined by the IEP team. Despite this clear understanding of the law, which I have heard the superintendent reflect agreement with in various public settings, the co's continue to insist we need to go to the Welcome Center. We did not receive a draft placement until the last day of school in our backpack. We did make the decision to go to the Welcome Center at Bowling since we received no additional communication from our school. We went yesterday. We arrived. I would note that the notices on the website are very confusing about the locations being closed except for Bowling. I would suggest you add a note for each thing saying, please note, close until August 4th, because if you just go to the location, it has the hours listed. And then I would say that when we arrived there, no one introduced themselves to us. No one asked our name. We were simply a number. We were given a piece of paper on a clipboard, asked to fill it out. And when I asked to speak to someone from OSS, I was told they are off for the summer. I was frankly shocked and horrified that was the case. I was told there was no one available. I've subsequently emailed Deputy Superintendent Seal requesting assistance on this front, since at this point I basically had no idea who else to turn to. So we were told to go to the Welcome Center, even though that is totally inappropriate and in contrary to what the law is, which is the placement decision is a product of the team. It should be implemented as such in the placement form. And even when we arrived at the Welcome Center, we were not welcomed, quite frankly. And I received a very slightly arrogant email from someone in OSS telling me I was, that all these things happened that didn't happen, that I was told how to fill out the form. I was not, and all sorts of things. So I come here to say that I am not alone in this. I know dozens of parents who have experienced the same frustration of being told to do things and then arrive and get told something separate.
Your time is up.
I would like the school committee to establish a clear policy.
Our next speaker is Sadie Jasmine. We're going to try again.
Can you hear me?
Yes. Could you please turn on your camera?
It won't turn on. It says host has you started your video.
Yes, I'm
okay. I'm on now.
Very good. Thank you.
Okay. Good evening. My name is Sadie Jasmine. I live in Dorchester. I am the president of the Bus Monitors Local 2936. I am here tonight to speak on the behalf of my monitors, many of whom have dedicated their lives to this work. Some started as far back as 1989. For the first time all these years, our monitors have been spoken to in ways that are completely unacceptable. Over that past month, they have been referred as to lazy, troublemakers, thieves, unqualified, and undeserving of their position as special education bus monitors by the district. On November 7th, 2024, I attended a city council meeting with Ed Flynn and his team. They spoke directly to Transportation Department. They explained to them that the bus monitors deserve to be treated with respect. We deserve fair wages that allow us to support our families with dignity, while we transport Boston's most vulnerable students. Thank you on the behalf of all the bus monitors for listening this evening.
Thank you very much.
And thank you for allowing me to speak.
Thank you, Ms. Jasmine. We're going to try again with Deidre Manning. Well, there's doesn't seem to work, so we will continue our two final speakers, Sequoia Craig and Edith Bazil. Sequoia Craig.
Hi, good evening.
Hi, could you please start your video?
I am in the hospital with my son, so for his privacy, I will not be able to turn on my video.
Okay, you can start.
Okay, so I thank you to the school committee and Mary Skipper for listening to what I have to say. I'm an advocate for my son who has sickle cell disease and acute depression. I've really been trying to be patient and understanding and get a gist of how the support systems are going to be effective. But I've been met with extreme racism. I've been met with legal threats. My son has been held back 3 times because he has sickle cell disease and there's supposed to be home hospital care, which none of that was implemented while he's been in the hospital. And sickle cell disease is an incurable disease. And due to the high stressors and the discrimination towards my child, he's experiencing major health issues where he has kidney failure and he has been constantly in the hospital suffering. No home and hospital care, no assignments. He passes the MCAS with flying colors, but the McKinley School has been robbed of major financial funding to extend the Josiah Quincy. The school does not have a cafeteria, but when you think about it, even in the prison system, they have access to food and cafeteria. There's a lack of enrollment. There's extreme racism, and all we're asking for is fairness. You can't say that everyone is equal, but then you want to crush the spirits and hearts and souls of children. And there's a lack of enrollment, more staff than students, and very condescending behavior, legal threats, and more so opposition than working together with the parents so we can see these students flourish. Even as the school committee flourishes in their positions and their roles, these students suffer immensely. And I just think it would be fair for children to be treated equal and funding to be allocated back to the Melvin King and the children to be treated fairly, because the school's a safety hazard, not just for the children, but for the staff. And I'm very concerned about this loud tone of racism and the lack of support that they say is available that has not been available to my son. My son is a #1 target at the Melvin King. And it's just very disappointing and discouraging. But I just hope for the best. The school committee can
30
really come
seconds.
together and be realistic with how they're treating the students and the staff. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Our next speaker is Edith Bazil.
Good evening. I want to echo everything that was said by Ms. Craig. Chair Robinson, Melvin X. King Academy, formerly McKinley, serves mostly Black boys with emotional impairments. It's supposed to be a therapeutic school, but they are warehoused in crumbling facilities with no therapeutic infrastructure. You have the report. Minimal academic support and rotting bars on the windows. When the school was still McKinley, BPS tried to kick the students out, tear down the building, and build a new school for Quincy Upper with no plans for McKinley students. One group was deemed worthy, Black students were discarded. BPS renamed McKinley, but Mayor Wu refused to fulfill the promise to rebuild it. Placing the Honorable Melvin H. King's name, a man who dedicated his life to justice, into the center of an educational crisis is not an honor. The consequences have been educational apartheid playing out in real time. The numbers speak for themselves. Mel King has 81.5% chronic absenteeism rate, flat academic outcomes, and dismal graduation rates. Meanwhile, the district poured $223.6 million into Josiah Quincy Upper School while leaving Mel King students in neglected, decaying buildings and installing more cameras for surveillance. I filed multiple complaints, including one on behalf of Ms. Craig, who just spoke, for students. One student had his arm broken in an illegal restraint. Another student was violently dragged off the bus by out-of-control staff. When I asked for accountability, Skipper responded with lawyers, not solutions. When I sought urgent support for a medically fragile student, Ms. Craig's son, who was hospitalized in crisis, Skipper didn't send help. She sent a lawyer who threatened legal action against the parent and the student. Let that sink in. A child struggling to survive, and the district's response is to sick an attorney on them. BPS would rather lawyer up than show up for Black students. Let me be clear. We will not be intimidated. We demand full-scale transformation of Mel King Academy, a new building, trauma-informed services,
30 seconds.
ESSER funds, transparency in ESSER funds, and a real sustained commitment to Black student success now. You have the emails, you have the requests. I'm waiting for a meeting. Let's discuss. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Ms. Bazil. We will try one last time for Ms. Deidre Manning.
My name is Deirdre Manning. I am a resident of Dorchester, a BPS parent, and a charter school parent for 2 public school children. I just want to connect with the school committee to reiterate some things that I've said before. It appears that the district has not provided data to the school committee about the impact of the exam school policy on residents of the city. Based on the summary presented last month, the families of possibly 1,000 students over the last 5 years, probably each year, likely analyzed the very little data presented publicly and decided their children would not be treated equitably and did not apply. When will there be an opportunity for community engagement, and when will changes be made to ensure equitable access to all eligible applicants across the city? I hope that school committee members will engage on this issue to ensure timely district action on rectifying areas of the policy that have prevented high-achieving students from receiving invitation, so that a 6th year of denying access to certain students does not happen. I also would like to note that the student outcome data has not yet been presented to the public, though public data available from DESE, MCAS scores, seems to indicate that the policy has had a negative impact. Please, school committee members, please get the district to get moving on this issue. As you could tell from the first public speaker, there are lots of people who want to engage on this issue to ensure that the policy going forward will treat all eligible applicants equitably. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Chair, that concludes public comment. You are muted.
Thank you, Ms. Parvex, and thank you to those of you who spoke this evening and shared your perspectives. Your testimony is very important to us. Our first action item this evening is the grants for approval totaling $934,230. I want to turn it back over to the superintendent for any further comments.
No, Chair, I think as I included in my initial ones,
Right.
we just really encourage the committee to affirmatively approve all of these. Marcella is here were there to be any deeper questions about the grants.
All righty. Thank you. I'll now open it up to questions and comments from the committee. All right, if there are no questions, I'll now entertain a motion to approve the grants as presented. Is there a motion?
Almost.
Thank you. Is there a second?
Second.
Is there any discussion or objection to the motion? Ms. Parvex, will you please call the roll?
Thank you. Dr. Alkins,
Yes.
Mr. Cadet Hernandez,
Yes.
Ms. Lima Barbosa,
Yes.
Ms. Polanco Garcia,
Yes.
Mr. Tran,
Yes.
Mr. O'Neill,
Yes.
and Ms. Robinson.
Yes.
The grants are approved.
Thank you. Our next action item is a vote on the land deregistration that was presented earlier in the meeting. I'll now open it up to questions and comments from the committee. Okay. Hearing none, I'll now entertain a motion to approve the land deregistration as presented. Is there a motion?
So moved.
Thank you. Is there a second?
Second.
Thank you. Is there any discussion or objection to the motion? Ms. Parvex, will you please call the roll?
Thank you, Chair. Dr. Alkins,
Yes.
Mr. Cadet Hernandez,
Yes.
Ms. Lima Barbosa,
Yes.
Ms. Polanco Garcia,
Yes.
Mr. Tran,
Yes.
Mr. O'Neill,
Yes.
Ms. Robinson.
Yes.
The motion is approved unanimously.
Great, thank you. Our third action item is a vote on the superintendent's school year 24-25 summative evaluation that was presented at the June 17th meeting. Dr. Alkins, thank you for your leadership in conducting this year's evaluation. I invite the superintendent to share remarks.
Great, thank you, Chair. And I just want to also say thank you to Dr. Alkins and just all members of the committee for the support throughout the evaluation process. Each year I appreciate having the opportunity to share our progress as a district, which is also my progress with the committee and the public. Over the past 3 years, I think we have steadily created the foundation for change, and we continue to build on those successes year upon year. All of us agree, myself at the forefront, that there's a lot more work to do. But I'm confident that we've really taken the time to lay the groundwork and the foundation to create the real lasting systemic change that we know we need to really be serious about achievement growth in our district and closing achievement and opportunity gaps once and for all. During my 2024 evaluation, I indicated that we had several foci. One was centering the identities of our students to cultivate the sense of belonging in our schools. Another was shifting our practices so that children could learn in the least restrictive environment, which is expressed in our inclusive education practice. Expanding Native language supports and access to Native language instruction in the form of bilingual, dual language, and access to language specific, and providing the tools and professional development for our teachers and staff to do their very best work. I believe we've made significant strides over the past year in demonstrating how we're meeting those goals through the operational changes we've made, the academic shifts, the changes we've made within family and community advancement. As we move deeper into our summer, our work continues with full speed, not only through the summer programming that I mentioned earlier tonight, but also in our ongoing planning for the school year 25-26 and preparing for our large, what we call our August Leadership Institute, or ALI. This week, in fact, right now, I, along with some of my members of my leadership team, we're attending PELP at Harvard, which is the Public Education Leadership Project. This is an experience that we did several years back that helped with formation for our capital planning initiatives and what that plan and execution would look like. And we're hoping that this experience in particular that we're going through this week, that will really set the stage for renewing the district's strategic plan for the upcoming year. And as I've said before, and I will say each time, every day I wake up, I love doing what I do. I love our district very much. It's a part of who I am as an educator. It's formed me. And I just look forward to many more years of being able to serve our community here in our city, certainly our district and our staff, in our schools, and you as the committee members.
Thank you. I'll now open it up to the floor to questions and comments from the committee. Mr. Cadet Hernandez.
Thank you so much. I'll start just by thanking Dr. Elkins as well for his work in this process. I know it is a heavy lift and it's a lot during, as any parent knows, during probably one of our busiest times of the year. So thank you for that. And of course, thank you to the superintendent. I deeply appreciate the superintendent's commitment and the progress we've made in certain areas. And I remain deeply concerned, I guess, by just the lack of quantitative rather data in both the self-evaluation and then our broader team's assessment. I think for our community to have confidence in our direction, we just need to set clear, measurable outcomes and then transparent reporting. And I urge us for the future to align our evaluation process more closely, possibly with the state standards, and to ensure that future evaluations are grounded in robust quantitative evidence, especially as we address persistent achievement gaps and of course, major operational challenges. For me, one of the things that has stood out in the process, just around just student achievement gaps, recent MCAS data, it shows that only 17% of Black and Latino students in grades 3 to 8 met expectations in English compared to 59% of white students and about half of Asian students. In math, the gap is even wider, with only 15% of Black and Latino students meeting expectations versus 60% of Asian white students. So the evaluation acknowledges these gaps, but doesn't provide a clear data-driven plan for closing them or measuring progress year over year. Equally, I've shared my concern, obviously, around long-term facilities plan and our declining enrollment. More strategy there would be helpful for us. And then, I think many committee members' evaluations were well-intentioned. I think similar to the superintendent's, we just weren't consistently grounded in specific measurable data. So the ratings often reference general progress or intentions rather than citing clear evidence or outcomes. So it's not just the superintendent's evaluation that needs more data transparency, it's our own process as a committee that needs to improve. So I think we owe it to students and to families and to the public to ensure that both our assessments and our decisions are rooted in clear evidence and clear metrics too. So I hope we can do more of that in the future. And of course, thank you, Superintendent, for your service. And thank you, Dr. Elkins, for pulling all of this together.
Thank you. Are there any other comments? No? Okay. Mr. O'Neill.
Thank you, Madam Chair. I wanted to echo your comments and Member Cadet Hernandez's comments about thanks to Dr. Elkins. I saw my comments reflected in the summative and read other members as well and saw their comments reflected. So I know Dr. Elkins worked hard to make sure our viewpoints were represented. And as Member Cadet Hernandez says, it's a lot of hard work to make that happen. We actually all read and say, oh, I saw something of mine in there. So it is truly a summative. And so thank you, Dr. Elkins, for that. And Superintendent, thank you for your work in the past year. There were a lot of positive things happened, all of which continue to be building blocks. But from all of our collective bargaining agreements being done to the SIP being stopped to a number of other things. There were improvements in transportation. There are some challenges there as well, as we talked about. And I think it is laid out in the summative, movement that we're taking now, the building blocks that were done to set up for long-term facilities plans, et cetera. I just think it was a very positive year, and I deeply appreciate when you said you wake up every morning excited to go to work. It shows when all of us deal with it, and for the amount of things that hit your desk every single day, I deeply appreciate the commitment and the positive energy that you bring and the work that you're doing to build your team. So I'm excited about the future under your leadership. Thank you, Superintendent. Thank you, Madam Chair.
Thank you. Okay. If there's nothing further, I'll now entertain a motion to approve the superintendent's school year 24-25 summative evaluation as presented. Is there a motion?
So move.
Thank you. Is there a second?
Second,
Is there any discussion or objection to the motion? Ms. Pavix, will you please call the roll?
Thank you, Chair. Dr. Alkins,
Yes.
Mr. Hernandez,
Yes.
sorry,
Yes.
Ms. Lima Barbosa,
Yes.
Ms. Polanco Garcia,
Yes.
Mr. Tran,
yes.
Mr. O'Neill,
Yes.
Ms. Robinson.
Yes.
The motion passes unanimously.
Thank you. We are confident as a body that Superintendent Skipper is the leader to continue moving the district forward towards transformational change. As per the provision in the superintendent's contract, which outlines the potential for contract renewal discussions after July 1st, 2025, if the superintendent has reached a rating of proficient or above in the past year, the school committee recommends entering into contract negotiations with the superintendent. With the approval of the superintendent's school year 24-25 summative evaluation, the superintendent has reached such a rating. Our last action item is a vote authorizing the chair to represent the Boston School Committee in contract negotiations with the superintendent. I'll now open the floor to questions and comments from the committee. Mr. Tran.
Yes, before we take a vote on this important vote, as I understand, the vote is to allow the chair to enter into an individual negotiation with the superintendent. Is that right?
Yes and no. I will represent, but before any decision will be made, it will come back to the community. It will come back to the board, to the group.
Okay.
So it just starts the conversation. So any recommendations will be coming back to the committee for a final vote. So it's not that I'm negotiating this and it's a done deal. No.
Okay.
Yeah.
During the negotiation process between the chair and the superintendent, is there any windows for members of the committee to, to introduce items and provisions? The reason I'm raising this is I like to see the framework of the negotiation.
Yes.
The items that are going to be negotiated upon, the terms and benefits and all that to be negotiated upon, and I like to have at least some kind of a clear view on that before we
yes
move forward. Okay.
Yeah, absolutely. And I think everyone has access to the current proposal that she is working under her current contract. So that will be a starting place. So, I think the first thing you should do is to go back and review the current contract. So if there are any new questions or issues, we can certainly bring those forward in discussion. So yes, there is, plenty of an opportunity if you feel that there is need of something that should be brought forward to be part of the conversation or the discussion.
So those kind of recommendation will go directly to you in person, or is it going to be happening? Okay, that's good.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Yes, but I said it will certainly include all voices. It will not be a personal one-on-one decision. Yes.
I understand. Mm-hmm.
Okay. Are there other questions? Okay. There's nothing further. I'll now entertain a motion to approve the authorization of the chair to represent the Boston School Committee in contract negotiations with the superintendent. Is there a motion?
No more.
Is there a second?
Second.
Is there any discussion or objection to the motion? Ms. Pavix, will you please call the roll?
Thank you, Chair. Dr. Alkins,
Yes.
Mr. Cadet Hernandez,
Yes.
Ms. Lima Barbosa,
Yes.
Ms. Polanco Garcia,
Yes.
Mr. Tran,
Yes.
Mr. O'Neill,
Yes, excuse me, yes.
Ms. Robinson.
Yes.
The motion is approved.
Thank you. And again, I want to thank Superintendent Skipper for her strong leadership and unwavering tenacity in bringing us to this point. She has dug deep at the core challenges facing our district, and with much of the foundational work now in place, it is time to move forward with urgency and with everyone on board. We are fully committed to doing what's best for our students and ensuring our efforts and resources are aligned to achieving high student outcomes. Thank you. Is there any new business? All right, that concludes our business for this evening. The next school committee meeting will take place in person on Wednesday, September 10th at 6 p.m. at the Bowling Building in Nubian Square. There's nothing further. I'll entertain a motion to adjourn the meeting. Is there a motion?
So moved.
Thank you. Is there a second?
Second.
Is there any discussion or objection to the motion? Ms. Pavich, will you please call the roll?
Thank you, Dr. Alkins,
Yes.
Mr. Cadet Hernandez,
Yes.
Ms. Lima Barbosa,
Yes.
Ms. Polanco Garcia,
Yes.
Mr. Tran,
Yes.
Mr. O'Neill,
Yes.
Ms. Robinson.
Yes.
The meeting is adjourned.
Thank you all. Have a good night and a
Thank
great
you.
summer.
Thank you.
Good night, everyone.
Good night, everyone.
Thank you.